All right. Hi, everybody. Hi, fifth grade HAAS Nights. Today, I just want to go through a little bit and kind of give you a verbal follow along with our PowerPoint all about adaptations, which we're going to be covering for the next few weeks. So I know that some of you are in kind of environments where it's very difficult to pay attention. It's very difficult to get reading done. So I wanted to go through this with you so that you have the ability to maybe hear and visualize some of the things as long as I go through them. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys. Give me one moment. There we are. Okay. And I would like us to, oops, hang on just one second. I'd like us to start learning about adaptations. So what is adaptations? It's all about gaining certain traits or characteristics which are essential or necessary or beneficial in order to help an organism to survive. So without further ado, let's get started, okay? So adaptations, adapting to survive. So if you have an adaptation, it is a characteristic or a trait which makes you more likely to be able to survive in a certain environment, okay? So remember that there are animals living basically at every corner of our planet. Scientists are saying that turn over a rock, there's life underneath that rock. If you go to the bottom of the ocean, there is still life at the bottom of the ocean. They believe that basically at every corner of our planet, there is life. Maybe you don't notice that, but it could be even like microscopic organisms such as bacteria that are living in those areas. But regardless, life is found everywhere on this planet. If you think about a certain organism, right, remember, for the purpose of this class, you have to remember that an organism doesn't necessarily mean animal. Oftentimes we think organism equals animal. That's not 100% true. So if the organism is, could be an animal, it could be a plant, it could be a fungus, it could be a protista, which is kind of a weird category that we put a lot of weird organisms in, like sponges and creatures like that. And of course, bacteria and microscopic organisms. So we're talking about any of those organisms. So the place that a specific organism lives, that would be called its habitat. Please look at the PowerPoint slide. You can see that it's highlighted in yellow, all of our vocabulary words. So the place where a living thing lives itself is called a habitat. Think about your favorite creature. Think about what its habitat might look like, and think about the relationship that your favorite organism has with their environment. So by looking at the page, you see there are a bunch of different types of environments, a bunch of different types of characteristics of these environments, right? The jungle is known to be hot, raining a lot. The grassland we know is more dry, but still hot. The desert even more dry, right? So we're looking at things based on general climates and what sort of plants are living there. The habitat is the area in which an organism lives. If you think of yourself as an organism, which we all are, our habitat would be basically probably where you're at right now, your home, okay? So you can think about it that way. So think about how a living thing's needs has to be met within their habitat. They need everything to survive. It all has to be found where they live. So remember that when we're talking about this in science class, actually, we talked about how in order for survival and in order to live, organisms need certain things, and we call those the basic needs for life. So in your notes, I would probably write down these to help you remind yourself. But we need, all organisms need 4 things, right? We need air to breathe, right? Whether you're an animal and you're breathing in oxygen, pardon me, or you're a plant and you're breathing in carbon dioxide. Water to drink. Remember, all life on this planet contains water, and water is an essential element or compound for life on this planet. Most of our cells are made mostly of water, and remember, even as organisms, we ourselves are made basically about 75% water, so that's super essential for life. Also, we're going to need energy or food. So remember, we eat food, but plants, on the other hand, they don't actually eat. They get their energy through the process of photosynthesis, Photo meaning light, synthesis meaning putting it together. So they actually put together energy or food. In this case, they put together a sugar for energy called glucose. And so either we need energy or food, some way of getting energy. And last but not least, number 4, we need protection or shelter. So these are the 4 basic needs for life. If you don't have these things, chances are good you're probably not going to survive very long. Okay? So when we start thinking about adaptations, first of all, let's look at our definition for what an adaptation is. So over in the yellow, you can see it says a characteristic that helps a living thing survive is called an adaptation. So let's look at some similar organisms that are very, have a lot of similarities, but they have some slight differences based on where their habitat is and where they're living. Okay, so let's look at the bottom of the first page where you see 2 rabbits. They're really cute, right? Love rabbits. So you see in green, there's a little bit about these organisms. We have an Arctic hare and we have a jackrabbit. Take a quick look at those 2 organisms and try and spot any differences, right? They're both rabbits. They both have a lot of similarities, but pick out some differences. Go ahead. Did you say that there was a difference in coloration? As you can see, the Arctic hare is white and the jackrabbit is brown. Why do you think that they are so different? Well, it has to do completely based on where they're living. If you read quickly, you could see that the Arctic hare lives in a cold habitat, so probably surrounded by snow and ice. And of course, if you're white, you blend in better with snow and ice than, let's say, the jackrabbit. If the jackrabbit was hanging out in the snow and the ice, you could probably see it pretty well based on its color. However, the jackrabbit lives in a wooded, foresty area, more like the picture on the other side of the page. And you can see there's a lot of browns, tans, and greens. And the jackrabbit would actually survive much better there. If the Arctic hare was there, probably not so much for that organism because it would kind of stick out like a sore thumb. So that's one difference. And these organisms have adapted, or they've gained these certain traits. They've gained a different color based on where they live because they have the ability to survive better with that color. Okay, another example, looking at the same 2 bunnies, you could see the jackrabbit has really big ears. Again, that is completely based off of where it lives. Since it lives in a warmer climate, you can actually, if you're looking carefully at the picture, you can see all the veins running through the bunny's ears. We know that the large ears of the jackrabbit are actually there to help keep its blood cool. So it actually allows the blood to circulate, and it actually is a way for the jackrabbit to cool off in a hot climate. Obviously, the Arctic hare, if the Arctic hare had large ears like that, it would be losing body heat, and in a cold temperature, that's a bad idea, right? We want to hold on to all the body heat we can, and that's why the Arctic hare has much smaller ears. So by looking at some differences in these different organisms, you can kind of see that these differences are all kind of correlated or directly related to basically where they are living. So let's give an example right here of what an adaptation is. So by looking at an organism such as, let's say, the eagle, we can see that a lot of its physical characteristics are there in order to help it fulfill its role in its environment. So let's think about an eagle a little bit. Where does it live, right? Well, it lives in mostly probably the top of a tree, probably has a nest, spends most of its time in the sky. So it has to be good at flying, right? And it has to be able to catch food. So based on those needs, right? Remember, it needs what? What are the 4 needs? Food, energy, water, air, and shelter. So let's look at some of the things that this creature needs. So for example, looking at the ability to fly, right? So that it can hunt and gather its food. So that's an essential need. So what does it have to help it do that? Well, it has big, powerful wings so that it can soar through the skies, and a very nice body shape that helps it to resist air as it's flying so that it can fly a lot quicker. Also, when it happens to see some sort of scurrying animal on the ground, because remember, eagles usually eat like small rodents, snakes, and things like that. You can see that it's got very good sense of eyesight in order to spot such small prey from such far distance. And then once it spots those organisms, it actually has a very sharp, powerful talons, right? Claws on its feet in order to actually catch its prey, and a very sharp, powerful beak in order to help rip, shred, and tear its food. So basically, you can see that all of these physical parts of the eagle are actually quite well thought out because they deal directly with what the eagle's role in nature is, and it helps it to get all of its basic needs. Okay. If you look in over here, you can see that these physical characteristics, or things that you actually find on an animal, these are called physical adaptations. So actual body parts, think about structure and function. So looking at some of the examples given on this page, check out the circle, right? You can see the owl's beautiful yellow eye right in the middle of that picture. But if his eye wasn't open, I don't know if I would be able to see him very well because he's so well camouflaged. His colors blend in with the colors of the tree, and that actually allows for the owl to kind of avoid predators that are looking for him, but also be undetected as it plans to essentially go to hunt itself. Also, you can see there's a picture of a rose. We've learned a lot about plant functions and structures, and we know that the flower is the reproductive structure of the plant, and so it makes sense for it to be bright colors for it to attract pollinators. That's a physical structure. That's something that the plant has. Also, in this example, you can see that the plant has thorns in order to help prevent it from getting eaten by predators or picked by humans. So those are all things that over a long time, these organisms have developed in order to help them survive. So what is the important thing to be aware of? The important thing to be aware of is adaptations are characteristics that help an organism survive. And there are a few types. So if you can actually see the physical structure or the organ, right, that actually helps the organism to survive better, that would be an example of a physical adaptation. Think about physical, you can physically see it, or like physical education, right? PE, some of you take PE. It's all about the body, so think about that, okay? I'm going to stop us right here because if everything goes well, should be able to put this into 2 videos. So